impressively through the strat that they've established, and that normally involves a launch pad rotate, but the zone was so close to them that they didn't actually have to go forward with their normal strat. And I'm wondering if that impacted them.
Yeah, the earlier zone was playing a little bit more north than what that strat would really account for, so they didn't need to do it really, and they actually found some really nice surge early on. Ultimately, it was that mid-game fight where we lost at Wox at that point where it left Vanya for a solo clutch. Those are the sort of situations that historically you think about Vanya, you think he's gonna just go on and win the game. That's the sort of thing he does, but couldn't quite find it there.
Well, he still managed to clutch through a couple of zones to get them within qualification. Remember, we're looking at the top 15 tonight, but can they stay there and hopefully make it on to page one? Let's head over to 11-2K and Taco to get on with game number 2.
Well, Frankie, there's a couple things I am pretty sure we're going to continue to see. We're going to continue to see clutching. We're going to continue to see big fragging moments. We're going to continue to see hype being thrown back and forth between multiple different teams here. Taco, that first game was a great taste for what this heat has to offer.
Yeah, we kind of got a little bit of everything. We saw great instances of height retakes trying to be attempted. We saw height get held, but I love when you see the effective measures coming from the low ground, because you would anticipate that so many teams, it might be a little bit more scuffed, but no one is giving up by any means. It doesn't matter what they're working with down in the dirt or way up above. Everyone's trying to make it happen.
Absolutely, and I think one of the biggest things I'll be interested in this first game is how do people bounce back from their off-spawn troubles? We don't have to wait long to find out. Game number 2 starts now.
Waiting to see squibbly shores. And Levin, I know you're just as excited as I am, okay, man? Because we know game 1, Taste and Ghost did not get off to the best of starts, but this is that bounce back that you're hoping for.
Absolutely. I was curious, and I went to social media to quickly check if Tayson had said anything, and he did, as most people probably expected. And so we'll see whether or not, you know, the talk is cheap. Will they be able to bounce back in this off spawn? Right now, looking a bit shaky. I don't think they will, Taco.
It is determined that they are not going to be participating in game 2, but now this kind of shifts things, right? Because you're headed into match number 3. You have no points, so the consistency element becomes a problem, and they're not the only team that has to worry about it either. With Savage being taken out, Velo gonna be sent running, and Velo, he might be able to farm just enough materials to cover for Mr. Savage, but no, not being given the chance. Just 2 separate angles, picking him apart. Velo nearly pulling it off, though. The response onto Masters, but it's just not enough. They've also been taken out of this lobby. Some big favorites, no longer participants.
This is looking bad. It feels like any veteran EU player right now, the new young guns are coming for you. You know, you gotta hide. Again, you were talking about it when it comes to Tayson and Ghost, and this is now going to be a thing for Mr. Savage and Velo as things continue. Is again, when you have games like this where you get wiped out, the consistency element, again, it starts to maybe become out of reach. You have to start thinking, how do we just win a game and convert on what we have? And that extra bit of pressure, not everybody can handle that, Taco. I think we've learned that over the years here in compared to Fortnite.
For sure, and I mean, I even draw back to that circumstance that Minnie had kind of highlighted earlier on the pre-show with, like, you know, instances of like Marius going for the solo clutch, finding the victory royales. And I do think that it is important for players to, you know, not lose heart. And I think that some of these experienced veterans, you know, they've definitely, it's not their first walk around the block, right? So they'll have opportunities, but it's about seizing them in the moment, and that's where it becomes really difficult.
No, you're right. It's not their first time. Usually when I do something 25 times, I eventually become decent at it, you know? So I'd like to think the same for these guys.
This drill just trying to buy whatever time he can, but almost like a delaying of the inevitable here. Pretty concise fight taking place deep southeast of the map. Marufka, probably feeling pretty good though by getting those couple of eliminations. They've got the means to recover their HP along the way, but still have little bit of work before they're going to be able to find themselves in a more cemented position in this lobby.
We started off last game seeing people go for sneaky plays and completely flop. And so hopefully we see the inverse, and I think we will. Clement and Floki. It's good to see these two back together. We talk about veterans playing with new stars. Two legendary French Fortnite players playing together still here in the year 2026 and making things work. A nice way to open up this fight here at the Sanctuary and give themselves control of this underground part of the POI.
I'm right there with you, though. I think Clement and Floki, they almost remind me of like duos that you expect to see together, right? Mixon and Blaha for a long time was one for me. But
Sure.
we gotta lock in on what Perhama and Machek are getting up to right now. Srap, Jewel, they don't seem to have any inkling of an idea of what's going on here. Just waiting from behind, but the tags just aren't enough. Just more like a love tap than anything else. And Perhama and Machek, they'll be forced to just sit things out now.
It's not looking good for our failed lurk counter. I think we're up to 3 now at this point. And it feels like Strap is actually taking this one personally. He said, oh, you guys want to come fight us? Let's fight face to face. You don't want that smoke. And they're showing that now. Bachawa goes down. And Drew and Straps. Looks like they're going to close this one out. You can see it again, attacking from both sides. And that will be the end of that. Quick turnaround.
Couldn't help but notice that mythic pump as well for Jewel there. So they'll also have those additional goodies that Perhala and Machek were able to provide. But teams are getting dropped and put into those solo positions. Kakri just kind of chasing behind Ken. And I don't know if this is exactly what they're waiting for, but Matez, yeah, sure enough, they're just gonna fall back here, realizing the juice isn't really worth the squeeze at this point. Frigid Fortress. Still heating up though. Killed and Collapsy. They had a good amount of success in the last lobby, but they've got to make sure that they keep the ball rolling with this one.
Yeah, a bit of a rematch from the last game, and one that you could say is a bit more on even footing, right? When we saw Nazix look to take this fight before, they were just playing into Clapsy and Keld's hands. They had every advantage when it came to positioning, when it came to just the timing, HP, the amount of builds they had, and it looks like when both teams are on a bit more even footing, it isn't the same outcome just yet. I'm sure we'll continue to see those guys bump heads throughout the rest of this game.
Definitely feels like one of those off-spawn instances where you're never going to expect both teams to kind of depart the POI. At least one fight is going to have to determine it every single time, because I just don't see a world where they can coexist. And you know, sometimes teams will choose to split things, but it doesn't look like either of them are interested in that.
And I don't blame them. I do not blame them. If you don't like it, look, there's players being taken out of the lobby every game. Go land somewhere else. Leave the spot to us. Khan and Faded. We talked about the potential they had, obviously very impressive in the Reload Elite series that took place a month or 2 ago. Can that translate into Major 1 here?
Hey, they've already got one land locked in with DWC, and now they're hoping that through the Major 1 finals that they're able to punch their seats on the battle bus from this secondary heats. And that raises their opportunity to potentially be one of those top 20 teams in the Major 1 finals to head on over to Dusseldorf. But they've got to make sure that they can win their battles. They find themselves a little bit of slight stalemate, but if it's a war of attrition here, Khan and Faded likely in a driver's seat here.
Yeah, and look, when you look at the fight they're taking, I think it was the analyst who mentioned them being coached by Teeny and Shark today. And that's the kind of fight we see those two in this area of the map quite a bit. Used to seeing them close out the fights maybe, but still time to do it. They're going to continue to chase them down. They know exactly where they are, Taco.
Bit of an escape artist there.
What does he?
He had no idea. Just like that, Khan's gonna have to take a moment to pause here. Faded, thought that he was going to get a return shot, but instead, Warren just continuing to push back. Finally, Khan will be able to finish what they started, but that's just one half of the puzzle. They still need to deal with Wuka at some point, but for right now, at least Khan and Fade are able to come out with one elimination there.
You gotta be more vigilant than that. You see the mist there. There's no player to be found. At least check where the mist was, right? Like, at least look at the tree stuff. And they take a bit too much damage there. That's gonna cost them in the long run when it comes to keeping their net surge in check. My oh my. Look, these things happen. We'll give them the benefit of their doubt. They're still warming into this lobby.
How much do you think the early lobby shakes might play a part? I mean, all these teams had the opportunity to kind of witness what was taking place throughout yesterday's matches, and so do you think that would help settle their nerves a bit heading into today's competition?
Yeah, I definitely think that plays a part. I think, anyone that plays Fortnite tournaments knows, there's different types of players. There's players who, they don't even need the warm-up, jump straight into game one, they're feeling it. There's others who almost get a bit fatigued by the end of the tournament and start to play worse. I'm definitely the first type, Get me in the first couple games, I'm primed, shots are flying. By the end of the tournament, just hope my teammates doing enough to keep us in it.
Callum just trying to stay in this one. Kolv and Peshka, though, just applying so much steady, consistent pressure, and they will be able to seal the deal here. Callum has been eliminated, so now Kolv, Peshka, got a ways to go, though, from Battlewood Boulevard.
Great shot, right? It was a tight window to hit it, but connected fully, and of course with this shotgun, you're always going to be hitting big. So now they'll be able to move on out of Battlewood. We obviously saw a lot more scrapping in Battlewood in that first game. Bit less busy here in game two.
Seems like some teams are also just coming to more concise conclusions as well. Clement, Floki, though. Another team sort of trying to possibly take over their position here at New Sanctuary, but Clement a little bit more preoccupied with trying to keep tabs on where Keelva is actually moving through. This could be a great opportunity to try and get some additional surge damage, but when you're already sitting at 737 above the threshold, you're not feeling too pressed about finding those extra tags.
I think the key thing for these guys is, again, it's just they understand their opponent is weakened, right? And so, it's a solo lurking about somewhere. And so you're gonna try and play for it, especially because the latter of the situation means you might get shot in the back. So they'll be patient. Not able to be too slow here. There is that team beneath them. Clement will be aware, see the footsteps lurking about.
Not only that, but I'd imagine that Clement and Floki would probably want to retake over that control of the vending machines too, because it does just give them better opportunity to kind of sit things out in Storm. Oh, having to worry about those later rotations. Clapsy, though, failed lurk. Does that count as a failed lurk number 4 if you're just spotted by somebody else entirely?
Yeah, we're adding that to the list. Put that one on the counter.
That is a tough pill to swallow, though, for Clapsy and Kel there. I think that they may have been relatively successful otherwise, but Specs and Miruz still under a little bit of duress here. Clapsy, his cover's already been blown. He's 498 below on Surge, so he doesn't have a choice. He's going to have to get active, because they don't have the heals to work with to try and deal with both the Surge tags and the lobby pressure. You don't want to have to use everything at your disposal just to survive these Surge tags, essentially. So they need to find a way in where Miruz and Specs are located.
And Miruz and Specs are playing that really well, right? They know this team's desperate for Surge. Don't allow them to get a pinch. Don't allow them to isolate a 1v1 or a 2v1. And so both of them staying in the same box, holding both of the players off from the same angle. And again, it just leaves these guys in the exact same position, even a worse position now. And ultimately, the next time around, they decide to try and force the fight. It's gonna just be an even better setup for Miruz. to try and capitalize. And so, really well played from those two.
We're also
Don't like what I'm
witnessing
seeing on the second side of the screen though. Yeah, this doesn't look too good.
just two separate players dealing with their own battles here. Pixie as a solo though in comparison to Clapsy and Killed, but 82 below. He's at least got those two pizzas to work with and could maybe look to find some tags from the players trickling in. Killed actually going to be one of the first ones in his sights, but he's just not able to connect just yet. Still sitting 67, now 59 below. There is a chance that the lobby might just bail him out, but you'd rather have your own fate under your own control here, Levin.
Yeah, I think that's the problem we saw a lot in game 1, and we're seeing it here in game 2 as well. A lot of people just don't have their fate. Clapsy, at a certain point, brother, the lurk plays just ain't paying off for you. Like, we gotta switch it up, my friend. We gotta just jump straight in the box. None of this lurking stuff. Everybody's spotting you out. And again, they're gonna continue to use up the pizza here, but this time is just time wasted, right? And so, at a certain point, that number's getting too big to overcome, Taka. I don't know how they're getting out from 800 below. This,
Hear me out. 7 eliminations right now. Clapsy goes ballistic. But no, realistically, I think Pixie's got the best opportunities. Still sitting 79 below. Gets some damage, but also takes him in return. But now this is where Pixie can go nuclear. Finds one, finds 2 eliminations. And that is going to be his bailout. But he's still just sitting 22 above. And because he has to heal, he doesn't get the chance to actually take more shots. Teams rotating elsewhere. But Clapsy, I mean, he tried to be the hero, and instead it just turns completely 180 there for Clapsy and Killed.
yeah, Pixie does well there to hold his nerve when both players are running at you from 2 different sides. Unfortunately, just took a bit too much damage there to the burst of G. There's not really much you can do when you're holding on like that. But again, it'll keep him ticking just above a better situation than the Puzo's in. What is going on? All of our game 1 best players, it feels like we're all struggling here. It's not illegal, guys, to have 2 good games in a row. Dan the Puzo is a solo. Again, this doesn't look like a game we're going to see them soaring in the skies on height. And so, we'll see what you can make of it as a solo. Clutching up points now will be good for them as far as consistency goes if you can continue to stay in it.
At this point, they might have the best opportunity here to just get some additional shots, kind of control what's taking place on these low ground tiers. But Dan DiPuzzo trying to cut off a player doesn't actually get to fully catch them out though. Instead, he will be dropped. So many individual plays being made though by some of these solos. Now teams, they are beginning to drop the way that this zone is moving and some of the shifting elevation, it's just enough for players to be getting caught out basically on some of these rotates. Wax and Vanya, on the other hand though, 225 above, it's not the highest, but they're still in a much better position than the rest of the lobby, and they're gonna immediately try to take over front side. Slightly elevated here too, so this is prime opportunity to strike and start looking back, getting some additional damage in.
Absolutely. We saw just how effective Vanya could be solo in that first game. This time around, he's going to need to rely on Wox there to potentially get them a refresh. The materials are starting to look a bit on the lower side. And so if they can find one of these players who's fumbling around low on surge, it will set them up to potentially sneak out of this lobby altogether in game 2. Kolb and Peshkov looked good so far, but they need to hold off from Kantry and Drew. These guys desperate to try and keep themselves above surge, just below now, and burning through materials trying to stay in the safe zone.
It's crazy to think how quickly the lobby just begins to lock in on a target. But sometimes that's just the way cookie crumbles. And for Drew and Kantry, they've done just enough. 90 above now. Big tags on Taquito. Only going to raise that even further still. And now they'll be able to use that overdrive grenade forward. But Seti, Rax, we wanted to see some good things from this duo, and we're finding it right now onto Shumich. Great elimination there for Seti to continue boosting up their surge.
A bit of aim training there, right? He was just sat in there. I'm sure everyone wants to copy that scenario in creative. We'll see whether or not, though, that aim's going to continue to shine through. Pixie, we know the struggles you're going to have as a solo in this game with nothing but wood left. and not much as far as healing goes. It's going to come down to one thing we know Pixie is very good with, and that is his shotgun. Can he jump in a box? Sees the opportunity, goes for the edit, players spraying through. Can't quite find the time in Pixie.
It's the double-edged sword, right, of being in those wood builds. Another duo immediately recognizes the fact that this is a weakened solo, so they took their advantage where they could, and that's going to lead to that missed opportunity here. But no, Riley, Reason on low ground one more time. Just trying to pan around, head on a swivel type behavior. Just off east of them, Clemento, bit isolated. But no, Riley Reason, they're still taking their time. They're playing through the backside. They're looking for some of these injured players, and they're gonna find Rax on the rotate. That is a nice little pickup if they can make it for those siphon materials, because they're going to need it.
Yeah, and they're coming off the back of that 6th place in game 1. They're gonna have to find something to keep them ticking in this one. Both of these players, we've seen them in situations like this before in their careers, and the one thing we can say is you never count them out. They're always gonna find the opening. Reason trying to jump in the box as Noah goes down. He's been here before. Can he find that window of opportunity and slide right through it? He can't. Pixie, though, is looking to do the same as we have mates up on top. This is gonna be a very close finish for all these duos down below as we move towards the edge of this cliff.
But mates, he's not exactly the most healthy solo either. Pixie still lurking in the underbelly of this lobby, just waiting to see if he can get a pre-edit or something. Doesn't matter if it's a duo or a solo, it's just gonna be whatever the next player is that happens to run across his screen. But Pixie, he realizes there's no one close enough. He's gonna have to just keep things moving forward. He doesn't have any sort of white heals, so he can't really afford to tank up any of these storm ticks. Runs straight into the hands of another individual, but he's not gonna be able to get the shots. He can't get the siphon. He's trying to break through the metal walls. He's down to his final 6 HP. He needs a shot now or never. Doesn't have the choice to choose. He's going to connect, but it's not a knock. He's going to just have to keep mantling overhead. The fact that he hasn't been taken out, and finally he will fall. A great attempt, but just not enough damage here. And mates, drop from height, no materials left over. It's gonna be the Mont Blancs. Head straight for high ground.
Yeah, they were setting up to take it, but I'm not too sure why. These guys don't have the materials to hold on. They're just gonna try and use their utility to hit some shots, and shots don't need to hit. Scary and Sayas, they're looking to take their claim, but they also don't have the materials to hold on. Everybody in this lobby has to rely on just their aim and their shotguns to try and connect. Scary will finally pick up a siphon that will give him enough to continue to just hold on here and give themselves a second to heal.
This could be a huge moment for the Spaniards, but you can't count out the rest of the lobby. Ghosty and Glove trying to play things through, still working in these lower tiers, but ultimate low is not safe. You have to anticipate that there's going to be somebody lurking on the other side of these walls eventually. They continue to try to pickaxe their way through, keeping things moving forward. A little bit of a bailout there for Ghosty as he finds some scattered material, but Scary with another elimination on the high ground. That might just be enough. The HP refresh, Saya's gonna send himself backwards though. The overdrive grenade, maybe not his direction intention, but Ghosty and Glove, it is a 2v2 outright affair here. Glove, Ghosty from low, one build left. Scary and Ciaz, they can taste it, they can see the victory royale in the finish, but they need to close out. They have to do this for their own country representation. Scary gonna send themselves up. Ghosty and Glove still underneath, just waiting. They've got no materials left. It is going to come down to the aim trainer. Finally, Saya is gonna get some shots. Glove will be knocked. One more left to play, and the Spanish have done it. Saya's and Scary Sean, welcome to the Major 1 Grand Finals.
What a finish for the Spaniards. You said it yourself. They were in the prime position, and it was just about the execution, which they perfected. A great win for this duo, and a duo that many people will have to watch out for and keep them on your radar. What a second game for this team. They take the height and they do it in style. Back to their desk to break that one all down.
Well, first of all, before we break that victory down, to Carter, how do you feel to have Spanish representation in the Major 1 Finals?
No, you should have seen the smile on my face when they were in those final moments. I mean, these heats overall has had some of the most Spanish representation we've seen in a long time, and Scary Ciaz being one of the first, or if not the first, to qualify themselves now to the finals. It's what you love to see. Vamos, Scary Sayaz. I'm excited to see how they perform in the actual major finals.
Yeah, it was really nicely played as well. I mean, the way that they were on high, the way that they had the patience there at the end just to close out those fights. It can be really, really tempting when you're a team on high, particularly if you're a slightly inexperienced team. I mean, Sayaz hasn't actually made an FNCS major final yet. It can be really, really tempting just to drop on down, just to try and make those plays yourself. But the way that they went about this endgame here, Takata, look at this. Just, you know, they kept their composure, they kept their persistence, and they stayed up on high. Glub and Ghosty did a fantastic job as well. It must be said, just to hold on. But when you've got that higher angle, you can always easily close out the game. And that's exactly what they did this moment right here. Just staying patient, not jumping in. Really well played from them.
Is it a bit tragic for those guys, though, the mini minor, that they ran out of builds? They just were not able to defend themselves as that zone pulled?
Yeah, it was always difficult when you're on low and, you know, the zone pulls further away. You don't have the builds to do it. So unfortunate for them, but they'll be back, I'm sure.
Yeah, I'm sure they will, because we've got 3 more games to go. So let's go to a break, and then hopefully we'll be back in the lobby before you know it. How do you say congratulations in Spanish?
Felicidades.
Felicidades to Scary, Sean and Sayaz, because they were our Game 2 winners. They've already made it to the Major 1 finals. Why are you giggling? It's not like I tried. Was it that bad?
Good.
Vamos. Let's move swiftly on. Let's talk instead about Pixie, because Swizzy went down in the mid-game, and for any other duo, you'd be worrying. But Pixie is so insanely OP at this game that he can get himself seemingly out of every situation, Mini Minor.
I mean, I'm so excited to watch this back because you saw Clapsy and his teammate needing Surge. Pixie also needed a little bit of Surge at this point. It's kind of the ideal situation, you'd think, for Clapsy. Another team that needs Surge, a solo. What are we going to do? We should easily eliminate Pixie 1v2, but no. Pixie hits the 1v2, and this was unbelievable. That shot with the Chaos reload of the first one, the body shot was unreal. And then Takata finding the second in the end game then. Absolutely popping off. We were in the back. We were sort of like going crazy because he just kept staying alive despite all the odds, and he was just so consistent here.
Yeah, disgusting in the best way possible. I mean, I'm not nothing against Swizzy, but he went down incredibly early, and Pixie just somehow, before that end game even started, clutched all the way up to that top 8. It's what you love to see.
And I think it's something that we were, sorry, I mean, we were speaking about it at the beginning of the day, and we were saying, you know, we have a few questions about these guys. How are they going to do whilst uncontested? And realistically, in this sort of lobby, just the quality of individual that both of those players have in this team, we should have expected them to be making those solo clutches breezing through, because that's what they're doing right now. And even in that last game, we saw them on low ground, a little bit messy. Even when the game's not perfect for them, they're still finding ways to make it work.
I think we always focus, understandably, on the fact that Swizzy is a global champion, but Pixie literally came second and is so known for picking up victory royales on LAN. So offline, online, I should say, this should all be a cakewalk for him. So we'll see more from them, I'm sure. But looking at page 2 of the standings, remember, number 15, that is the cutoff. Shocking to see Wox and Vanya there at the moment. We still do have 3 games to go. And Ghosty and Glub in that last end game to Carter, holding on, controlling that low ground, despite the fact that they knew that they were running out of builds.
Yeah, this is an interesting one. We talked about the EU Legends. This is more a newer duo, and they did get second place, but they're also contesting another 2 duos off spawn. One of them you might know, Mr. Savage and Velo. So it's a rough early game for this team. You can tell from the first match they had, they ended up going down in 39th place. But once they made it past that early game, they actually got the nice second place finish, 3 eliminations. So I'm curious to see how this is going to go moving forward. Are they going to maybe play a little less aggressive in that triple con early game, or are they just going to continue with it and hope they get another big game?
Yeah, I was actually looking back, and it looks like they've actually switched up the drop spot, so they're sort of landing more towards the south side of the map now, so hopefully that's actually going to help them in their pursuit of actually qualifying here. Both of them haven't made a major final before either, so huge moments for them. We can't get too ahead of ourselves here. Of course, they would have liked to have won the game. Realistically, that's their best chance of getting through here because of their inexperience, but maybe they can prove us wrong here and keep performing well, because if they do end up going back to that triple con situation, probably not going to work out for them.
A duo that we can probably safely say is underperforming to our expectations right now is Wox and Vanya. We just saw they're in 15th place on the leaderboard. So Carter, we got any clues as to why things aren't going their way yet? Why are they so uncomfortable?
It's interesting because they're being very consistent at getting 15th, back-to-back 15th places, 2-3 eliminations. I mean, it's interesting. Week 1 of the Div Cups, they got 4th, but then it was kind of downhill after that. I mean, the zone was a bit far from them, but game 1, it was incredibly close. I'm wondering if it's kind of like a surge issue, if it's a chem issue, but I mean, we should have a bit higher, you know, placements coming through from these teams. The expectations are there, Mini. I don't know.
Yeah, I mean, it's funny, after game 1, we were sort of thinking, you know, maybe the zone pulled too close for them. They couldn't do that long rotate that we broke down at the beginning of the day. That zone pull far away, not a different in terms of performance. They did exactly the same. So still some questions to be answered for those guys. Yeah, tough to exactly point an exact finger as to why right now.
I just looked down at my desk and I was suddenly reminded that we've basically not seen Seti and Rax, and I am looking more at these and going, do post-it notes work well with condiments? Should I be serving this up to myself with a side of mayonnaise at the end of the show to come? What's going on?
Yeah, I mean, the thing is, Seti and Rax, once they kind of came back together as a duo, the placements haven't really been there, but I mean, just the hype, I'm hoping they can kind of come back. They're not performing too well. It's going down 20th kind of in both matches, so they're struggling to make it to that end game. They're gonna have to change something out, Mini.
Yeah, it's tough. I mean, we hadn't seen them too much in set lobbies. Something that I was looking at with them, they haven't necessarily been winning enough of those fights, getting a little bit frenzied there in the end game. A little bit of a disconnection in that duo right now.
Yeah, I really need these boys to work things out as we head into game 3. All is not lost as we head over to 11-2 into Jakarta. Jakarta.
It's okay, Frankie. It's the double T thread after all. But Levin, the important matter has been determined. The thing is, we've got a lot of our bigger name teams that are definitely struggling in terms of the leaderboard, and consistency might become a little bit more out of reach as the day extends onwards if they're not able to make something happen here now at the halfway point.
No, I agree with that very much, Taco. That makes sense. I think it's a great point. Look, I think ultimately the games, they come thick and fast and they start to run out. And so you're right. I think for a lot of teams, after this game is when I hit the panic button, right? Some of the teams you've seen struggle off spawn, Mr. Savages, the Taysons. After this game, we really got to start to hit the panic button and figure out what can we do to guarantee us a win in one of the remaining games. And so hopefully here in game 3, we will see the turnaround for some of our lesser fortune teams. Game number 3 of Heat 2 begins. We can see we're right back towards Squibbly Shores because we want to see whether it's going to be a 3-0 sweep against Tayson and Ghost. All the hype we were given, Ghost, we've not got to see him really play. We don't get to watch and see whether Tayson is still at it. And this time around, are the drops any better, Taco? Oh, I don't know.
Oh, I mean, Tayson's getting lit up from elsewhere.
No.
Oh, no. Tayson and Ghost definitely getting the worst end of that exchange, but at least they've managed to touch down. Medkit is huge here right now for Ghost and Tayson. They have the opportunity now to just kind of breathe and then wait.
Yeah, and the silver lining there is regardless of them getting tagged up in the sky, they are alive. They get to survive. They get a moment to breathe in this lobby. Every single other fight we've seen between them has been a quick 50-50 where they got wiped in seconds. This time around, they get to try and get a loadout and try and fight their way back into this game and in this tournament. Fighting happening around the rest of the lobby as well. We've seen names falling, players dropping. And in the case of Zany over here at Boulevard, there's been a lot of action towards the Boulevard. A lot of the time we've been watching it take place in the Storm, a couple zones later. So we'll see what these guys cook up now. We've already picked up one, and Iggy is gonna have to watch from the sidelines.
Not liking the current overview though for Ein, because you're relying pretty heavily on the twin hammer shotties of all things and a healthy duo surrounding the area. But Country Jew, they're looking to duke it out right now with Frenek and Jew looking for a separate angle here. Frenek no shield, so just a couple of shots or one good shotgun blow should be enough. But Frenek just overwhelmed by Jew and Country.
Nice little pre-fire there. Bit too much firepower for them to deal with in that moment. Country and Drew, both incredibly talented players and finding a bit of rhythm, finding a bit of momentum today as well. Definitely been one of the better teams we've gotten to watch today. We'll see that form continue throughout.
We are already, I was going to say some developments though of teams kind of shifting across the map. Just based off the duos that we've had, you know, getting their outright win and teams looking to take over where they were at, essentially. But for Bello and Mr. Savage, Levin, I mean, they've got to get the ball rolling here.
Absolutely. Got some bigger things out. Got to try and catch up. I mean, you mentioned at the start of the day, Taco. After Heat 1, the amount of names we saw miss out who are now going to have to play in last chance. There were already a bunch of really big name teams who had missed out completely on making the Heat stage as a whole. And so the last chance was already stacked. I would hate for this Heat to contribute to that even more.
Unfortunately, I do feel like there's always going to be at least one or two upsets when you're looking at EU as a whole and the level of competition that has only continued to trend upwards. As much as you love them, as much as you want to root for them, everybody has to essentially muster up their own strength and look to break past, you know, the strengths that they've had in the past and been able to rely on, and just see, can they kick it up another notch? for Mr. Savage and Bello, that does seem to be their only option currently, because 6 points heading into this third lobby. It's a little bit grim, but they're definitely not out of it just yet. I mean, one really strong placement finish, a couple of eliminations. We've seen how quickly that can catapult the team up the leaderboard too.
Absolutely. And they're going to need that, right? Historically, Savage has always been a player who, you know, commentating him over the years, it's always come down to momentum, right? Once he gets into that good groove, a lot of the times the games keep rolling, but it can be hard to get that fire started. So they're going to need a spark, and that might just be Velo in this game. Nice little bit of movement there. Quicks.
They are just absolutely running it down right now onto Masters. Crete and Quicks just doing what they can. See if they can get the cutoff, and even take the Ascender upwards, but Quicks on the lower round. Crete overhead. Now just looking, Frida not gonna work there for Masters, and sure enough, that is going to be the closure towards this engagement that they needed. Kiro, Uppull, they've got Extra Thito on their sights. Don't see Door anywhere nearby. Extra Thito maybe just hoping that he can convene with this duo, but it does appear as though he's in a solo situation, but out of the pan, straight into the fire, potentially realizes there was another duo the other end of that cliff, so he'll opt to try and pan towards the river. But Kira and Uppull, they are determined to chase down these extra 3 points for the elimination.
And I hope he doesn't give up. He's got him so low. Extracito doing his best to hide. Oh dear. They know where he is now though. They should know he is right down beneath here. You can see them looking at it. Will they drop down though? It does look like it. They have the piece and they will close it out.
48 points though right now for Uppull and Kiro. But expect this is a team, yeah, they're looking for a victory royale, I feel. And when you think about Uppull's recent success in the Solo Victory Cup, 3 for 3, I think that is definitely a player capable of turning any lobby into a win. Clement and Floki just continue to kind of find themselves in these positions of just looking to lurk around the vending machine, which makes sense. We know how ideal having heals, especially ones that you can depend on to play Storm, it makes a big difference for the later rotations. But 27 points, that is tough scenes.
Again, once we get to this point in the competition, right? If you don't have a good game free, you start looking at teams as like it's win or nothing, right? Either you win the game or you're in the LCQ. What's having to be rebooted isn't the best sign for this team's fortunes moving forward. Again, they are still within range of calling on consistency, but a bad game here could really hurt their chances.
Latte Landing has, even though it doesn't seem like there's been a team directly pressuring them, it does seem like they've been cut off from their surge opportunities. And knowing that Walks was rebooted, almost curious to see whether or not they'll be able to do enough recovery to not have to deal with the woes of surge later on, because we've seen teams that haven't had to go through those reboot instances, and yet they're still struggling to maintain above that damage threshold later on in these zones. O'Reilly and Reason, they're nestled in a pretty solid position right now. Consistency has definitely been the name of the game for these two so far.
Absolutely. They've been incredibly impressive. Obviously, last game we saw them both having to sort of split up and just try and solo clutch, and Reason was the one that ended up surviving the longest between the two, but it wasn't long enough for them to have been too satisfied, I imagine. So hopefully this time around, both of them will be up, fighting and thriving together.
Nice little 5-5-5 scenario here, though, for Ju and Country. And for Country underneath, I mean, he's holding his own pizza, right? Like, this is a team that's certainly not struggling for heals by any means. But things are quiet over by Painted Palms. I think so many duos are just, you can spot these surge bases off in the distance. So that's naturally going to adjust how teams choose to kind of rotate around.
Absolutely. They've got to have their routes planned. You obviously will have an understanding of where teams like to base up around you, and so you plan around that and figure out the most optimal routes. What do we have going on here at Riptide? We obviously have seen Jewel and Strat take these fights in the zone and find success from them. It's going to be really up to Jewel to try and do it alone here, really pull off the 1v2.
Iggy and Iron, I mean, this has just been the full-on recovery tour for them. We saw Iron earlier on over by Battlewood as a solo, so the fact that he had to head all the way towards Riptides, play for the reboot, I think that drew the attention of Jewel and Strapped initially, but now they might have bit off more than they could chew here. Jewel jumps immediately into the box, but Iron not going to be able to hold out. Iggy now looking to see if he can save his teammate from being fully eliminated here, but Jewel is just dancing around the box. There's no way for Iggy to close out these shots, and now third party overhead. Jewel will finally be eliminated here, but the damage has already been done. Iggy is so incredibly low, and with another team keeping tabs on the action over by Riptides, it's going to be difficult for them to actually press outwards. Plus, they took so much damage. The net surge cannot be all that beneficial.
I'm glad they won that fight, because had they not, we would have had to have an uncomfortable conversation. You can't be losing that one, and thankfully they don't, but it was a lot closer than it needed to be. Props to Jewel there for making it tough, and again, making the rest of their game tough now for them to recover and get back into the game. It will continue to be a journey. Glub and Ghosty, one of the big surprises, I think, of this heat so far as how they've been able to perform in that last game especially.
All they're really trying to do is see that they don't lose that rhythm throughout the course of today's matches, because it's one thing to get off to a hot start, but you have to make sure that you're also finishing strong in this type of competition, especially when so many more surprise factors begin to play a part here because of those teams, like we mentioned, that don't have the consistency. But the lurk play from Nazix and Lovero, this time it will be a success for them. Clapsy eliminated, killed, fighting for his life, but Lovero also taken down in response here. Gil trying to see if he can bring down Nazix with it, but a little bit of a standstill, a little bit of a pause. Nazix and Lovero, what I thought was initially just going to be an outright success. I mean, they were not expecting this bite back from Gil, and he is holding his own.
We obviously saw just how much they struggled in that last game. On the receiving end of a lot of eclipse, it felt like, but we'll forget that and hope they can try and make something out of this one. Much better position as far as Surge goes compared to last game. So if you can get Clapsy up, maybe there'll be something they can do to save face a bit here. Deep into the storm. He'll go.
A little bit of a look back into where the success was. Lovero just full-on tunnel visioning there. Just comes back, fight him in the end, but sometimes that's just the way things go. Can't really fault them for wanting to just close things out very quickly. I mean, how often do we witness third party coming into effect whenever you're taking just slightly too long with some of these box fights? So makes sense.
Yeah, we see that a lot. Ooh, okay. I was interested in where these two were at. For people who are just tuning in now, we're looking at Ghosty and Tayson, who has his name as Luka Doncic right now, paying homage to his Slovenian countrymen. And they have started the day poorly. Taken out off spawn in the first two games, not being able to rack up any points whatsoever. And here in game 3, finally getting an opportunity to put some points on the board. And so they're going to have to make it count. If they have any chance of pulling on consistency now, they're going to have to make sure this game and the next two after are filled with points.
It's always opportunity for that bounce back, and this would definitely be the lobby to go for it. A lot of trouble right now, though, for mates and Caxby, but only so many places left for them to run, especially when you find yourself underneath the damage threshold. I mean, they have to connect some shots for Surge. They're gonna have to just take whatever shots they can find, but Floki, Clement, similar position. All of these teams just kind of settling into the same layer of congestion, forcing fights against each other, looking for angles, whatever they can find, but it's going to be Floki and Clement who just barely managed to come out on top, still so low, and they're just going to wait. Mates is getting desperate now, just trying to break into their box, and that makes it all too easy for Floki to line up the finishing shots. But still, only 42 above, so a little bit of wiggle room, but a long ways to go.
Yeah, Flokito doing his best there. These two, again, if you've been watching the EU for a long time, you'll know just how proficient they can be in box fights, right? Always great when they have players running at them in those positions, the composure, the experience to know when to edit, when to interrupt people's momentum and their rhythm. And it was a great showcase of that there.
I mean, I feel like I'm just witnessing Kiro's demise. Fortunately for him, though, overhead. Let's get a little bit of siphon now off of Nasix, but he's still below on the overall surge threshold. Trying to see if he can get some additional tags from players looking to rotate in off those overdrive grenades. And 4 above now. So Kiro will be able to just try and send himself forward, get a little bit more towards that edge of zone. It's just tough here, 11, because he's going to be forced to drop all the way down, try to be out of sight, out of mind, wherever possible. And will get an opportunity to recuperate his shields to being full, but he's still gonna have to find another refresh. And as a solo, that's just so difficult to do.
I think the silver lining for him is that with the materials he has and the nades, you know, he can't go down at this point in the game, right? He's got to stay in there a bit longer. But when you have other things to worry about, like Surge being below, that becomes a whole different story. Especially when you have such a distance to rotate. Yeah, man, I think our friend Kiro here has been in much better situations. Let's just say that. His best options for maybe getting some damage, both rotating away as well. And so it feels like everything is out of reach for him. He's going to look for a shot here, potentially. He sees players in wood, but the opportunity doesn't find itself. You can't wait this one out, Kiro. You got to hit some shots. He's got some of the best aim in the region, and he showcases it there. It ticks him just above. Right now, Taco.
But even with being above, he's still going to be forced into yet another fight. And it's not one that he's healthy enough to run on top, unless he can get the opening shot here. Zyron just immediately sent scrambling, but Kiro, he needs to close it out. Perfect timing, and that right there could be the difference between a handful of placements. But Kiro instead gets cut short on the runaway. Unfortunate scenes, but he did try his best. At the end of the day, it just breaks down that way.
Yeah, ultimately, it took him a bit too long to get there, right? There was already too many players positioned in zone. And that's just an easy shot to take at a player still fighting in the storm. Wox and Vanya, they've recovered their game and are looking in a much stronger position. Wox with all that gold loot in his inventory, you want to see him fragging out, doing what he does best. Tayson and Ghost, they're trying to force the issue because they're down on Surge, Taco.
Down on Surge, down on leaderboard points, and now down a teammate. Ghost will be dropped, but a great response out of Tayson is going to mean that he might actually be able to go for the revive. He knows that the zone is closing in, but the damage, it's just not enough. He'll have to forfeit that opportunity for saving Ghost and instead just play this out as a solo. But how many points can you claim?
Tayson, it's time to solo clutch. How many times have we seen him in positions like this, and how many times has he delivered the goods, Taco? Does he have one more in him? It's right now, and it is the time to do it. Tayson, you need to have a big game if you want to see yourself in the finals next weekend. Pixie and Swizzy, we've seen a big clutch from Pixie last game. Swizzy still in it, holding on as far as HP goes. So they'll need a bit of siphon to get those whites up. And this is not looking good now for Tayson. 11 HP, no way to get himself up other than a siphon. He has to connect with big damage and soon, especially with the materials dwindling.
There are some injured players around him though. He's gonna keep taking looks at some of the healthier ones, just looking to try and claim front side of zone. Mr. Savage and Velo, meanwhile, They've also been clawing their way through this lobby from the low ground, backside of zone. They recognize there's a lot of teams rotating by them, but they don't want to take shots just yet. They're going to look to play their pizza play for a little bit of placement here. Tayson, overdrive effect just not going to be enough, and he will be shut down. Even for the best, that hamstring just continuing to haunt him and slow him down. But Swizzy, Pixie, up above. They've got a firm control of height for the time being, and it looks like Pixie is just trying to take full advantage. Some of these players overhead. Khan immediately punished. Just one overdrive too far up, faded as a solo now, left to contend, and it's just not going to be enough. Pixie has been on a rampage today.
And this is why this duo is the best in the lobby right now. They have the understanding, they have the awareness of anybody trying to take height off of them, and they come prepared. Everybody else belief now needs to hope these two slip up, because they are looking primed to take one of those final spots.
Velo, deep backside of zone though, and he is just waiting. A little bit more pizza, a little bit more time, whatever placements he can muster up. That's exactly what him and Savage need at this point. But he's gonna need to find some big shots, refresh, eliminations, and he delivers. Mythic Pump doing everything for Velo right now. And he's got to continue charging his way forward. Pull back though, gonna save him just a little bit. He's still controlling towards the front side. More materials just laying around. Perfect timing, but with so many other teams looking to clash inside these mid layers, Swizzy and Pixie are just smothering the lobby, forcing it to collapse on itself.
So many players stuck in builds that are not theirs and struggling to find any real space in this moving zone. Velo, he's done a good job to stay alive, but with Swizzy eyeing him down, there's only so much time he has left in the game. When these guys start to drop down from height, it just gets that much scarier for everybody now believe. Dew and Cantry have been one of the strongest looking teams in
amount of pressure that is beginning to be placed on all of their shoulders. If you are not already within that top 10 of the consistency, well, this might be your best shot to get it done because Game 4 underway. What I'm really waiting to see, though, Levin, is whether or not Tayson and Ghost are going to be able to go on the recovery tour of a lifetime. We saw them finally touch down on Squibbly in the last lobby. It was with a little bit of woes behind it since there was a third-party intervention kind of tagging away, chipping away at their HP, but we did see them at least make it to the end game. It's just about pushing all the way through. And that's where things start to become rather complicated because they are not the only team that is looking for that same kind of mentality.
I think the biggest thing that is troubling is that it feels like they're scared. Look at the drops here, right? They don't even want to fight them at the sort of gas station. They're looking to swerve and dodge into the POI, and there's players taking shots at them. And so already starting with an HP disadvantage, thankfully those players will take shots at Xterry as well. And so hopefully they can recover things now. A 49th or 49th and a 19th is not what they were expecting out of today thus far, but we've seen people overcome bigger hurdles with 2 games left. And so it's gonna require an all-time performance from the two, but definitely talented enough players to make something happen. Zany and Burke, incredibly consistent today. I believe they are second when it comes to consistency standings. And so one of the teams who right now is looking very comfortable when it comes to securing a consistency place for the major finals. And a team that a lot of people are going to have to learn a bit more about because they definitely have looked better than what maybe people would have given them credit for.
I think it's really just the momentum too. They've been consistently contested by Iggy and Ein, and yet have come out on top practically every single lobby so far, I want to say. And with that in mind, I mean, it's such a huge catalyst, I think, to a player's confidence. But now, Ghost, just at the perfect timing, managing to close out on a knock there against Adapted. But Tayson just dropped so incredibly low. Both him and Ghost are just not able to really duke it out with the HP. But Ghost does get the siphon, finds the body there, but he had to split away momentarily from Tayson. So now Xterry will also have the opportunity to kind of recuperate his shields too. This is a tough spot to be in. This is Major 1 finals, avoiding last chance qualifier, potentially on the line here right now for Ghost and Tayson. You can see Ghost, he's looking to see if he can find an angle on this shot. Through some of his old builds, but Xterry is not gonna make it easy for him. Ghost with the jump overhead and the crushing finish there now out of Xterry, but they've been collapsed on. Teams witnessing what was taking place elsewhere. Zoomer and Fury fully at the winning point.
It didn't matter who came out on top of that. They were bound to fail with the third party coming through. A disastrous outcome for Tayson and Ghost in particular, who again will be on many people's prediction boards to qualify. They only have 2 games to muster up enough points to maybe squeeze their way into the top 10 most consistent teams. It is going to be a massive mountain to climb. Crete has his own mountain to climb now in a 2v1 here. That doesn't look too favorable.
And the worst part as well for Crete is just knowing that they are so much closer in terms of consistency. 65 points, but V's gonna be taken out. Faded and Khan have rolled up to the vicinity now. They're a little bit local, but Faded will be sent the opposite direction off that overdrive. A little bit awkward here, but it's not going to deter them too heavily. They are still looking to chase this one out. They know just how weak Masters actually is, but it's going to be intercepted right now from Clapsy and killed. Faded, Khan, now they're contending with an entirely new duo here, and one that is healthy enough to definitely push back, so that'll cause them to have a little bit of a second thought for continuing this engagement.
And he's flying towards these guys. Wanted to maybe close things out quickly. Specs and Mules, we've seen them fighting defensively to some success, and we might see it again here. Swizzy and Pixie, you don't ever want to bite off more than you can chew. Swizzy will do well to keep Pixie up. and get him away? Can he create the space to get the revive off? Specs and Noodles not getting too greedy and just backing off a bit, but that might be their demise. Pixie does get taken out, and so now Swizzy forced alone in between two teams. He is truly stuck in between a rock and a hard place. He has to hope that these guys forget about him and just allow the time to pass by. That did not go how I was expecting it to, Taco.
If anything, it might have even indirectly helped Swizzy out a bit with that third-party presence, but Forge and Nagi, they're not going to stick around, and surely Muru's Specs are going to realize this, and they know what kind of contenders those two can be. Checking in, though, to see what actually happened. Faded and Con, they're punctual. They're willing to put an end to everything that they start, and the fact of the matter is, that's just another 3 elimination points that they can add to the count. Extracito, though, alongside Dora, they're looking to go big or go home realistically. These lobby points, every elimination, every single placement is going to be the difference maker. We saw how much of a nail biter it came down to in yesterday's heats. How so many teams were able to actually overlap and overcome in the final moments there to squeeze themselves into that top 10 for the consistency side of things. But for Dora and Extracito, it's only Cora that remains. Misha having already been eliminated pretty early on, but overdrive grenades just sending them a little bit more scattered here. Or trying to buy some time, but that's gonna be the last overdrive. Now it's all about, can you tuck yourself away in the build long enough, just delay. A lot of pizza slices here, at least, but both sides being aggressive. Dora, though, not able to find the closing shots. Fortunately for Dora, Exorcito is right there. Back him up, but a little bit messier than what they would have hoped for.
Yeah, almost gave the 2v1 away.
Just so surprised that Swizzy and Pixie were able to get the successful reboot opportunity, so that is a solid turnaround. O'Reilly and Reason, though, they've done a great job. We touched on it a little bit in the last Lobby 11 in terms of Reason and O'Reilly just looking to play largely for the consistency metrics, and while they are still inside that placement area, it's a little bit too close for comfort. They want to try and see if they can further overcome, see if they can continue to build up on that leaderboard section. I believe all they really need to do is stay true to their methods, because so far it has worked out relatively well for them. Checking back in, though, Mr. Savage and Velo, that solo clutch out of Velo to turn up with the 8th place finish. It was a huge difference maker in their leaderboard standing.
Yeah, I mean, again, now if you're a Savage fan, you're gonna hope that they can really just squeeze as much out of the rest of these games as possible. Time is ticking away.
It's all going to come down to the wire, though. I think that this is really the point where some of these veteran mentalities, you know, help settle some of the nerves here from Velo. He looked relatively cool, calm, and collected in that endgame, despite the fact that he was in such a rough position. So I do think that the chemistry has been built up relatively well in their short time of doing together.
Yeah, look, they've had some impressive cuts, right, where they look like the real deal, a team that can, you know, contend to qualify for the summit. But if you can't make it to the final through heats, LCQ is not going to be any easier.
Vanya and Walks really just trying to establish a little bit of building side control, claiming a lot of space right now, kind of keeping Kaisers and Gonzo at bay too. The main thing now for Kaisers and Gonzo that they're gonna have to take into account is it won't be easy to rotate off without Walks and Vanya potentially moving first, because you never want to get pieced up along the way.
Yeah, I feel like for these guys there's a lot to prove. In the case of Gonzo, especially, but he has looked good so far in 2026. Newer talent emerging onto the scene. Seti and Rax. Much more to be desired if you're a fan of these two. And for Seti to miss the finals would be his first final missed since 2021. Wow. Chapter 2, Season 6. That was my second season on the broadcast back when I was a new up-and-coming analyst next to Resub, eh?
Well, now that you're playing Mr. Worldwide, you know, doing the whole hosting, into the analysts, into the casting, when are we gonna see you back in the playing? You know, you might as well hit the player side of things too. Just go fully on tour.
Trust me, nobody wants to see that, Taco.
I want to see that.
Nobody wants to see that. We'll spare the viewers that sight.
You never want to cut yourself short there, man. But look, Polish Cat, Petro, Kiruo, Trexer, just so many teams that have had issues. Hey man, I understand lurk plays are everywhere right now.
Yeah, man. I mean, again, you're gonna go for it if the opportunity is there, and they'll be patient enough to wait. I don't know if this bait is gonna work out for them though. They're trying to bait the mist here, and I feel like it's just not. Like, I feel like Kido and Trexor, even if they came this way, it wouldn't be quite enough. Yeah, they pick it back up. I think they realize it's not happening. The footsteps disappeared. They realize they went in the other way onto the other side of Painted Palms.
This was still a pretty big commitment from this duo.
Ooh, hold on. They're moving in the right direction. Trexor might come to this side. Are they gonna get it? Oh, I hate watching these sometimes. It's the anticipation. Go on.
Hey, they needed that one though. Kiruo eliminated. Now Trexer sent into a little bit of a panic here. This duo just continues trying to see what else they can gather. That's certainly going to help them in the surge department. And the 3 med kits to boot, because with Trexer and Kiruo having stuck around for so long, surely they had to have some form of white heals to be playing Storm in the first place.
It's good to see the patience paying off for them.
Like this one though, multiple teams taking advantage of the healing from the cube. Lachek and Farhawa though, they're gonna move off of Sandy's strip. Try to get some tags in along the way, but not gonna net anything just yet. Still fully aware of the fact that there are going to be other teams kind of trailing behind them, so still gotta be cautious with how you move into zone.
Pixie and Swizzy. They've been the most consistent team on the day that hasn't been able to pick up a win. And they looked in a good position to do it last game, but unfortunately, Cantry had something to say about that. But without him in the lobby, maybe, just maybe, this will be the game where they finally secure their position in the major finals.
There's probably multiple teams, at least in this heat, hoping that they find a victory royale, because all that means is the trickle-down effect, right? You have another team that's potentially pushed into that consistency placement quals potential, and that could be a huge difference maker here for that Major 1 Finals lobby. But the other benefit that Swizzy and Pixie had is just knowing that they've got enough points that even if they do get eliminated earlier than they would like to, I don't think that they're really at threat of losing their current position for quali.
Yeah, no, these guys are safe. They're gonna qualify regardless of what happens, and so we'll see just how much of a spoiler they play to the rest of the lobby. We've seen some teams do that already. Cough, cough, heat 1, and so let's see how much drama these guys can cause with how they choose to play the rest of these games. Down below on Surge though, so we're bigging them up. They do have to put in some effort into this game if they want to stay in it for much longer.
Asking shall receive. Pixie, Swizzy, wasting no time. getting some good tags in, but it's still, well, the Surge is definitely jumping for them as the rest of the lobby also continues to build on their net Surge, but Seti and Rax, they're starting to get a bit desperate here now. Shields fully down now for Seti. Rax is soon to follow. They can't get some more shots going. Surge is going to take them out before they even get a real fighting chance in this lobby. Seti just trying to chase down Specs. Miruz looking to just keep charging forward. Wants to get away from this lobby. They can smell the desperation clinging to Seti. And Rax, they continue chasing this one out. But Specs, he's incredibly low too. Rax, Seti, this might be their best chance to go for the refresh. They're going to need some Siphon to come into play here if they want to keep charging through this one. And Rax, Seti, they'll find one. Can they get the other? Because Rax, he still can't afford to take these ticks in Storm, and he's not going to be able to work his way into zone. Seti with the Siphon will be fine, but now he's left as a solo.
This is going to be tough. He needs to squeeze more points out of this game, but it's just not going to be an easy one. And now there's a player in his box. That is it for Seti and Rax. If you want to see them in the major finals, they're going to have to win game number 5. But let's see who wins game number 4 here. A fight for the pad up on the top of the mountain peak between Wox and Gonzo. Pixie and Swizzy on the other side of the zone, planning their rotation. In a good spot to take it though as well. They have the elevation advantage. Wox loses Vanya in this exchange at the top of the mountain for the launch pad. So we've seen Vanya clutch to the attacker. We're going to have to see Wox do it now.
Wox is certainly capable of doing just that, but first wants to see if he can try and pinpoint some damage to just be able to focus exclusively on where he wants to send himself with this overdrive grenade. So far, no one's really revealed enough of themselves to really provide Wox an ample opportunity, but now Jewel, shot's just not going to hit though, and one more time, the Surge threshold just continues to climb a little bit further out of reach here. Up and down though, some shots will connect there for Wox on these later rotating duos. Shumich not going to be able to survive, and that is a great time for the knock to come through here for Wox, but of course, he can't afford to go for that body loot anytime soon. He's just going to choose to stay in this elevated position. And as a solo, decent amount of material, now climbing his way through that Surge threshold. There is some serious opportunity here to clutch things out.
It's not a bad spot to be in whatsoever. An update on Swizzy and Pixie. How are they playing in this lobby? Up against Dandapuzo, they take him down. And again, the aggression from these two is what we want to see. Maybe a peek into how they'll be playing in next weekend's final lobbies. Big game for Savage and Velo though, Taka.
There's some teams that are very injured directly underneath them. Velo, Savage, they can smell it. They want to go entirely for those finishes, but they're not going to be able to claim them just yet. They'll have to pull back. They don't want to forfeit the secondary height position. Whether or not they know that it's Wox as a solo just above them, doesn't matter. They're looking to just try and stay moving with the zones. But Dora tried to go aggressive onto Savage there. Unfortunately, Savage and Velo are going to be able to turn that one around. That might also give them a further extension in this game. Now looking healthy on that Surge threshold, but the materials, they're going to need more. They've got some heals to work with, handful of splashes, but now stuck at the backside of zone, teams that have already made their way in. That slight hiccup dealing with Dora has caused them to just be a little bit behind the pack. They have to conceal themselves a little bit better and also be fully aware of so many teams ahead of them just lurking on these walls.
See Fury and Zuma up top, looking comfy, but for how much longer? That will be the question. There will be teams in this lobby that look to take it from them. Swizzy and Pixie, their job is not finished. They will continue their ascension towards the top of the standings. Pixie gets caught in a box, and so that leaves Swizzy fighting alone.
Solid scenes though for Reason and Noah Riley. They're gonna head straight towards that low side, front side of the zone. Forja and Nagi a little bit caught up right now with Fury and Zoomer, but at the same time here, this might be exactly what Nagi and Forja were after, because they've managed to overtake height. They don't have a whole lot of materials, but it might not matter with the way that the zone is pulling. They're just gonna choose to continue ascending upwards. They've got the front side position, and they're looking to just try and suppress everyone else. Gonzo still sticking towards that low tier, but Noah Riley and Reason could really play a lot of the low ground here They've got so much material, they're just gonna keep claiming some space, but Reason, I think his intentions might be to go up.
I don't blame him. You know that's where he wants to be. It might be too high for him to keep climbing though, just enough to get up on some elevation. Forg, Nagi, oh dearie me, Forg will take some fall damage. And they will look up now for height and see nobody there. Nagi in the storm.
He can't get down.
Maybe he might have the element of surprise here, Taco.
Problem is, whoever he drops on is likely going to be able to scout him out. Fortunately, the materials are going to be enough, but it's Gonzo who gets ruined in the process. Nagi needed that shot. He needed the siphon, but he's still trying to play from inside the storm. He's got to catch up. Got to be another one. Nagi is just fully locking in. Despite Forge's slip-up, it doesn't matter. Nagi is not deterred. He knows just how much they need every single one of these placement points. No O'Reilly Reason. They're not looking to meet the same fate, though. They've now comfortably taken over the high ground, and Nagi, his run might be cut short here.
There are two players that the fans in Dusseldorf will want to see winning games, and that is Noah Riley and Reason, and this just might be their chance to secure a spot to do it. Noah and Reason up in the skies looking to shock their opponents into the storm. We've seen big clutches already in this tournament, but will this just be the classic height win from Reason and Noah? How many years of competitive Fortnite have we seen them do this? Too many. Noah and Reason will be playing in our major finals. That is what the fans wanted to see, Taco.
And they were looking so solid throughout the course of the lobbies earlier here today, Levin. So to see them finally bring one home, that's got to be a huge celebration coming through for Reason and Noah Riley. But Frankie, what do y'all have to say?
That was as smooth peanut butter mini miner. I feel like we called that win probably in the 10th zone.
Yeah, we did. It was just frenzy up on height. It just seemed like everyone was trying to go for it, jumping down, so many players trying to take it. And at that point in the competition, everyone's trying to go for it. Some of the teams that are further on down to Carter, they need a win, so they try and go up and just do anything that it takes to get there. But sometimes it just takes that experience. It takes that that level of patience, I suppose, from a team and two players that have played for such a long time at the top level, just to know it's all right. We'll play our maps, we'll try and find some refreshes on mid-ground, and then take the height later on down the line to win the game.
Yeah, this does really put a smile on my face. We talked about it earlier, but I mean, back in 2024 duos when Reason was playing with Fadil, they were the best duo. They were getting top 5 in all the majors. They were looking incredibly strong. Trios just didn't quite go their way, and once the season started, Reason couldn't find that duo that he worked well with, even trying to play with Fadil. Now ended up with Noah after switching countless times, and we weren't really sure how it was gonna go. Both the players have the experience, but just in terms of season performance, it wasn't quite living up to our expectations, or more what we wanted to see from each of these players. And now they have done it. They have got themselves a slot in the major finals. This is what you love to see.
There are 11 more spots in those finals up for grabs and one more game to go. So let's head to a break. And when we come back, we'll be getting things ready for Game 5.
crank up back to back. Oh, oh, just like that. I see a dub in my future stats. Oh, I know a place you can go. The doghouse outside my massive abode. It's lovely, it's cushy, and sometimes it's cold. And watch me get this gold. Oh, I just want it all. I just want it all. Bounce, bounce back. Said you want it all. Said you want it all. Said you want it all. Bounce back. Said you want it all. Said you want it all. I can have it all. If you knock me down, I will do the fall. I just got that gold. Bounce back. I just want it all. I just want it all. I'll keep bouncing. Yeah, I'm bouncing back. Yeah, I'm bouncing back. I keep coming back. I can't hold it back. Yeah, I'm bouncing back. I keep coming back. Yeah, I'm bouncing back. I can't hold it back. Yeah, I'm bouncing back. I keep coming back.
A flawless endgame for Noah Riley and Reason before the break saw them take the 4th victory royale of the day, and they've qualified for the Major 1 finals. There's one more victory royale up for grabs, and then 10 places based on consistency. So let's take a look at the standings and see who is still in contention and who really needs to up their game and potentially hit that number 1 spot in our final game of the day. Where would you like to start though, Takata? Because I know that everything can change here as we go into game 5, because it did yesterday.
Yeah, I mean, the pressure is on. As a reminder, despite 10 duos qualifying through consistency, it doesn't mean it's top 10 on the leaderboard. It's actually top 15, including the duos that qualified through the VR. So if we look at that 15th place, the current cutoff is 101 points. Now, mind you, yesterday, the cutoff going into the last match was 96 points, and it ended at 143. It was consistently going up throughout the day, but for some reason, that last match had a big gap for that cutoff, a big range in terms of how many points changed. Now, I'm not saying it's going to happen again, but even the players in the top 10, especially the players down here in this section of the leaderboard, the pressure is definitely on.
So what you're saying then, Takata, is Vanya and Wox, they might be within contention at the moment, but they're absolutely not safe, because Vika and Malabuka, we thought they were safe. We thought they were a sure thing for the Major 1 finals based on consistency, and it turned out after game 5 they were not.
Yeah, it's going to be tough, and they've been getting some pretty good zones too, but there's always, I don't know if it's little mistakes or what's going on, but I've seen Wox play as solo, Vanya play as solo. They're getting to these end games, but there was only one match where I saw them fully kitted up to actually play it out. They're kind of doing pretty good performances, but we have yet to see that big match from them.
Yeah, one of them just keeps going down, don't they? And it's just not what you need in these sort of lobbies. You'd expect both of them to have those individual firepower in order to get through those lobbies, but the game that you were talking about there, Takata, when they were up on height, they were set up for success. I think the zone pulled really far away, so they couldn't continue to play height. That was the game I thought they were going to win, but ended up being 9th. It's just not, they haven't quite been able to get the ball rolling today, and they need to do it right now in the last game.
You know who else really needs to do it? It's actually Seti, and it's Rax. If you missed the start of the show, I did say there was a Frankie Ward guarantee, which is Seti and Rax would definitely qualify at some point today. So let's take a look at the leaderboard to see where they are, because I did say that I would eat the post-it note with the guarantee on if they did not qualify, at least through consistency. They're not going to qualify through consistency because they're not even on the first 2 pages, boys. I need them to get a victory royale, but let's face it, it's not looking too great for them right now. And actually, you can see highlighted there, Mr. Savage and Velo. Things have been slightly looking up for them. They managed to get off spawn in later games, mini minor. Things could change for them, but based on the performance so far, do you think they can really make the leap they need?
It's tough. It's going to be tough. They're going to need to do something magical here. I mean, this was the moment here in this end game where I saw Velo start to lead, and you could see them trying to come out of this box right here and get beamed by the whole lobby, and that's where Savage had to take over and say, right, I need to lead up here. They're going to drop, and they ended up dropping all the way down low to try and navigate through that end game. That rotation right there was the key moment where they went down, though. They were just too late to get to the next zone and ended up getting looked at by so many people. So they're going to need a really clean end game. What was that, 23rd? They haven't had too great of a performance. There's only one top 10 today.
The issue is the one game they kind of finally got off spawn at a pretty decent momentum. They got 8th place, and now they had that opportunity again, but they got 18th. So going into this last match, they really have to make some magic happen.
And I'm concerned for Tayson and Ghost as well. I think they were 45th going into game number 4. Their fortunes definitely haven't improved since then. It's definitely an interesting one because we've got the last chance qualifier coming up. You would have thought that Tayson, at least, he's used to this situation of having to perform at the last moments, and potentially we can see a victory royale from them. But potentially this is a duo that needs more time to Carter. Ghost's greatest success seems to have been in trios. Maybe he's still adjusting. That was back in chapter 3.
Look, he did qualify through a win. Ghost, it was game 3, but we're past that. There is one match left. So, I mean, hopefully, if they qualify, it has to be through a win. Like you said, 45th place. They've got 20 points. Consistency is not going to be the route that this duo has to take.
Yeah, it was weird. I mean, even off spawn there, they were kind of a little bit more scared to fight off spawn, which is not what you'd associate with Tayson. And now maybe he's regretting the decision to play with someone new and upcoming. Maybe Ghost is regretting the decision to play with someone a bit more experienced. It's going to be interesting to see if they even stick together for last chance.
Literally, production is trolling me. They found Seti and Rax 36th position on the leaderboard. They went down 4 places in that last game mini-minor.
Yeah, it's not looking great. I mean, the performances haven't been great. They've had 3 22nd places today, and it just seems like that disjointed nature hasn't really fixed itself. It's something that we spoke about earlier on in the day. They haven't been winning those fights. They haven't been staying together as a duo. It's always been a bit of a rescue mission in every single one of their games to casters. So looking pretty rough for this duo right now, and of course, they're far away, so they're going to need a win.
Who is going to take the win, though, guys? Is there anyone based on their performance in this lobby so far you're thinking, yeah, they've actually got the guaranteed win on this one? As someone maybe outside of consistency, mini-minor, who do you think wants it most?
I want to see Savage do it. I want to see Savage, you know, I think the fans want to see Savage do it. If it's going to be a Savage thing to do, it's the very last thing that he does, which is qualify through. And can I just say as well, of course, where Seti is right now, based on their components, standard post-it notes likely taste like dry paper with a faint or slightly bitter synthetic taste from the adhesive. So we'll see if that's true.
Oh,
Jeez
do I have to eat the entire... Do I have to eat the entire thing? That's the question. If they get up to page 2, maybe I only have to eat just a tiny corner. We'll let Levin and Taco call it. What do I have to do? Just be kind to me, boys. And girls.
I think you need to have the broadcast team and Epic wipe everyone's memories of that moment having ever taken place on the broadcast. I don't know if we can get like a wipe of the memory here, but if anything, I guess you could say that Seti and Rax are doing it for everyone else's entertainment, Frankie. I don't know, Levin, what do you think about that?
I want to see those guys score. I don't want to see them miss it, but I also want to see Frankie scoff the whole thing down and just, you know, make us laugh for eternity. So, look, we had one of the best broadcast segments we've ever had yesterday with Kelly on NA. We might get the second best ever if this happens now with Frankie. So, fingers crossed. Hey, look, big game coming up. It's all on the cards. I think everybody now realizes the urgency, the severity of the situation. You cannot let this moment pass you by. You have to make this your game. And there's a lot of different names I'm looking at on this leaderboard right now, Taco, who they're gonna be fighting, you know, tooth and nail to try and make it happen.
Yeah, I'm expecting things to get kind of ugly out there, Levin, because even when you factor in top 23, it's all way too close for comfort, but we don't have to wonder. We'll get to see exactly what happens. Game 5 underway.
This is it. Game number 5 of Heat 2 is upon us, and it is now time for everybody in this lobby who has allowed the previous 4 games to pass them by to change their destiny. The off-spawn battles have been gruesome. They've been tough. And we will see the conclusion of this story at Squibbly Shores take place. Tayson, Ghost, finally outdropping Xterry. But will it even matter with them getting beamed up from every which way?
They don't even get the chance. Even though Xterry is just hanging on by a thread here, Ghost and Tayson are not able to fully capitalize just yet. I think part of this, Levin, is just the repercussions of this off-spawn having gone so heavily against Tayson. and Ghost's favor early on, that teams elsewhere have just been drawn to the fact, and now they want their own piece of the pie. We already saw the influence it had in the last lobby, and yet again, Tayson, Ghost have an incredibly difficult uphill battle. It is win or last chance qualifier that they're staring down the barrel of.
Yeah, I mean, again, the reality is many people want to see it, right? You want to see it because we're big fans of these players and their history and all the amazing moments they've shown us. But the reality is, Tackle, is they haven't showcased any ability today to be able to inspire that level of confidence. And so at the end of the day, it is a hope, a dream, a wish, a prayer, whatever.
Parte más caro aquí, güey.
And that's exactly what happened there. Not as free flowing as maybe if you're working with splashes or something else, right? To sort of dance around with.
Mira.
I feel like this exchange has also just gone on a little bit too long here for Druxy's and Sadie. They will finally be able to close it out once and for all. They are the final duo left standing here at 4 Fields. 4 eliminations as well. But with how much time they just spent now having to make their way into zone, granted their net surge is probably looking pretty solid, but on that same note, you still have to push past teams that are just going to be settled in much better positions in comparison to a duo arriving so late.
These guys are trying to set themselves up early. Set Rex, big game on the line here. Not just for them, but also for Frankie, watching in the back. This is why we just shouldn't let anyone give out their guarantees, Taco. You know, save that for the experts.
You know, it's tough though, right? Right, Levin? They can't all be 2K guarantees, you know what I mean?
They can't, clearly not.
Just...
But look, one thing we can say for certain is that there will be a lot of people rooting for them, and rightfully so. So much talent, so much experience on those two teams, on those two players, sorry. And it would be a shame, but we mentioned it, well, you specifically mentioned it, Taco, right? That list of teams that have to call through last chance is getting spooky. And if they were to be added to it, it would just make that last chance qualifier that much more entertaining.
It's just the last place I'd want to be right now. Because it's not even about just making it to the last chance qualifier. You have to make it into the last chance qualifier finals too. And when there are so many strong contenders just already being factored into that from heats alone, on top of the ones that just weren't even in heats to begin with, again, it does become a little bit daunting. And I do feel for the players that have to kind of make their way forward through that option, but Mr. Savage and Velo, they are certainly a duo that is trying to avoid that at all costs, and they are within striking range. I mean, 73 points heading into this 5th lobby, 23rd position, but when you look at where 15th was at in the cutoff being 101 points, they are very realistically in the range to take over, but it is going to come down to these two needing to have a very strong performance. It can't just be an 8th place finish of 4 eliminations. They need more.
Yeah, they're gonna have to really pull out one of their best performances individually. And really, we've been saying it, but we keep saying it because it is the reality. There's just a lot of teams who it's just got to be a win. And as the zones get closer and closer, smaller and smaller, the space for people to set up to do just that becomes so much more difficult. It's good to see the position Tayson and Ghost are in, right? This is the best position we've seen them in all day long. And so hopefully that can convert into something more significant than what we've seen them produce in previous rounds. Heshka and Cole, again, a team that early on in the day, you know, had some inspiring moments, but ultimately went quiet.
If there was ever a time for them to start making some noise, it is now, because they are also another one of those teams just kind of being factored in to being able to leapfrog some of the other competition inside of that top 10 for the consistency placements. We also saw some sparks of life from the Mont Blancs. That one game they went for height, but aside from that, it just looks like the day has really been rather solid. It's been decent, but they are very clearly still trying to see if they can captivate a little bit more.
Absolutely. Louis and Rigby, two players who, again, don't necessarily have a wealth of experience by any means, but have definitely showcased some promise. Like you said, game 2 when they were up there on height, it definitely felt like they were a team that maybe would make waves today. And while they hold on to a qualification spot at the moment, they will need to make sure this game continues to add to their tally.
I think the main thing too is that so many teams, I mean, everybody noticed what happened with Biko and Malabuka, that early departure just being the separating factor. It's all about just making it into the placements. That's truly where things can begin to kind of shift, because so long as you get some points from where they are at, that could be all the difference. Swizzy, yeah, with that knock onto Vanya, it's pretty tough here, but Louis, Rigby, it's very difficult when you're looking at two teams that are just so close together and so in need of a solid final finish.
Yeah, I mean, that's going to be very tough. Very, very tough. We obviously saw yesterday Biko and Malabuka in a spot that looked maybe safe to qualify, and then they go down in the final game and they miss out by just one position. You'd hate to see that happen again for Vanya and Woxt in a similar spot. So we'll see if they can cling on to their position right now.
Always a little bit of a nail biter involved with these types of tournament formats. That's just the nature of the game. Strapped in, Jewel, 24 below, currently on the damage threshold, lurking, crouching, waiting to see. But they might not have time on their side. They need to start getting active. Fortunately, they don't have to go full-on desperation measures, jumping into somebody's box just yet, but getting these tags and seeing that it's Seti on the receiving end. But that's exactly what Strapped and Jewel needed. Seti and Rax, though, they're gonna have to try and play for the recovery here. They're losing so much HP on that rotate.
Oh no. Almost running into the wrong box there, Jewel. And unfortunately, it's gonna cost him either way. He gets shot in the back. We'll group up with Straps, but they have spent so much of their resources and utility to get to this position, and it's not necessarily even the best one they could be in. What's going on? Oh my goodness, Khan. The highlights don't stop for them, even in this final game.
Mr. Savage, Velo, just trying to make it forward, but Savage has fallen. It's all down to Velo. Fury just doing what he can. Velo needs to connect with the shots. A little bit of shakiness there, but he holds strong, at least for right now. 180 on the Chug Jug, 4 splashes. A mythic AR, but Velo, he's got the whole world in front of him. And he's trying to crack it wide open, but on the front side of zone, there are just so many other teams that he has to contend with. Seti and Rax down in the low ground, front side. Itrozi will be taken down, but they need to get the finish. They need to get the materials. Azak gonna be able to cut them off just a little bit, cause some slight delay here. Seti and Rax, they are just not healthy. And with Surge ticks now tipping away at their HP bars, Rax and Seti, they're trying to make a move, but they need an elimination. They've got to just go against Azat. But Azat's just not giving them the opportunity. He's just holding them at bay. He can tell that they're injured. He can tell that they need this more than him. Even without his duo, he's still willing to just force Seti and Rax now to push off here. And so many of these teams, Levin, it's just starting to fall apart.
How many of these players right now are just holding onto a thread? Their dreams of the FNCS final slipping through their fingers. Seti falls, and Rax now has the weight of the world on his shoulders. With just 9 builds and no shield, stuck in the zone. He can't even get out of the zone. He's trying to break a tree. The medkit pop will keep him alive, but not for long enough. They will be bound to the LCQ. And he's not the only one left. Velo trying to keep the Mr. Savage dream alive. Trexer and Kiddo are up on height. They need a big game. And they have a lot of hungry players beneath them that are looking to clutch up now.
But this is Velo's opportunity to cement himself as more than just an up-and-comer. These are the moments that can really determine the future is here, but Velo, he can't get away. He's trapped inside the box, and it is over now. Savage and Velo will have to see things out in the last chance qualifier, and for the rest of this lobby, Ghost. Also, another one of our teams just kind of hanging about here. Trexer and Kiruo, they know that they need this win if they want to avoid the last chance qualifiers. But Trexer, Kiruo, can they apply enough pressure? Hazat also still hanging on despite having lost Ifrozi earlier on. But Tayson and Ghost, even though they might not have a strong material count, this is still the best that we have seen them yet here today, Levin. They've got some heals to work with, but they've caught the attention of the high ground. They're trying to see if they can chop it out, and sure enough, Trexer are going to be sent tumbling down.
They're going for the gambit. They don't need the materials. They know they just need to take their opponents out. They know what they need, and it is a win. Going for everything right now, Tayson and Ghost. This is what legends are made of. Up above. Can they continue to close this lobby out? So many players still left. So many in the zone trying to find a way to stay in the game. Kaduo in the backside might just look for revenge against them. He will chop it. They will fall. Kaduo will rise, but not before falling on the front side. Tayson and Ghost still have an opportunity to regain the height.
And Kiduo also eliminated for his troubles there, but now Tayson, Ghost, they're trying to see whether or not they can actually maintain height for the duration of this lobby. Nagi underneath, scrambling, so many players getting caught. The pressure just overwhelming though, and Nagi will fall. Ghost, Tayson, they might just be able to do it here. This is everything for Tayson's legacy as a player, as an individual, and Ghost right alongside him, building up. Frenek and Dinas, the only two that remain. The Poles trying to see if they can also bring themselves into that Major 1 finals. But Tayson and Ghost, they refuse to let go. Even with only 8 builds remaining, it's just Frenek and Dinas that they have to contend with. Where it's removed from the low ground, a chop comes through. Doncic still pushing through though. Tayson, he just needs to find the shots. Can Ghost make it happen? But Frenek overtaking the high ground. Tayson's been taken out. It's all up to the Bulls to close this one now. Ghost might have something to say though, and he can't get the shots. Frenek and Dinas just stealing away the hopes right now for Tayson and Ghost. A heartbreaking scene, but at the same time, the Bulls just delivered.
These guys have shown throughout the day that they had what it takes to be a team that can play in the major finals, and big moments require big players, and that is what they have shown here. Frankie, break it all down. These guys deserve their spot.
That was an absolutely crazy endgame with pitch perfect commentary by the fabulous Levin and Taco. My word, the cinema we have seen today to Carton. I couldn't be more happy for Dinas and Frenek.
I am speechless. I truly am. I was not sure which way it was going to go because both of the duos in those final moments needed this win to qualify themselves to the major finals. Frenek with those last pumps connecting is what solidified that golden ticket. Throughout the day, 48th, 43rd, 21st, it was just not going their way. In the second to last match, they did get a 9th, and now with the win, have made it to the finals.
I mean, when I was watching that, you just think, yeah, Tayson, it's the story, it's the classic. You knew he's going to do it right. Last game, hadn't had a good day, hadn't had a look at the top 10 all day, and then just turns up in the last game. But he just got foiled there at the end. I think it was a big shot from Frenek that shut him down, just opened up the door, and it looked as though that it kind of worked out for Tayson's team. They didn't have those extra materials, so the zone pulls back over the old builds. You think, right, they might have a chance right here, because of course they don't have the builds but these guys just turned it around so quickly. Dinas and Frenek, I mean, they're a team that we haven't seen loads of today, but that's what this format can do. It can soar you all the way up, and this was what I was talking about here. The shot from Frenek to drop down onto Tayson to hit that first shot. And Ghost had so much to do, but he couldn't end up doing it. But big ups to these guys, the qualifying 3.
I mean, what a fantastic game 5 to wrap things up in Heat 2. With Tayson and Ghost able to perform like that under pressure, I think they've got some good chances in that last chance qualifier on Tuesday, Mini Minor, because there are going to be 5 games. There's 5 spots still up for grabs. Hopefully, though, they're not going to leave it until the last game.
Yeah, hopefully not. Hopefully they get there, of course. Hopefully they qualify through. Hopefully they stick together as well, because, of course, sometimes you do get some team switches, especially when they are newer players coming in. Maybe Tayson's having questions. Maybe Ghost is having questions right now, because I know Ghost even played with a different teammate for the first Divisional Cup this season. So I hope they do stick together. I hope they work through some of those mistakes. A lot of off-spawn troubles for them, really, when you look at their day as a whole. And it just all culminated into this performance at the end where you thought it was going to happen for them, but it was just too little too late, Takata.
Yeah, I mean, even leading up to this, you know, their expectations weren't at an all-time high, and it was a difficult drop being contested not only on their spot, but from the west side as well. They finally were able to make it to an end game. They did not disappoint in that end game until the final moments where they weren't able to close it out. So, you know, I'm hoping that we see more of them in Last Chance. I mean, you can see how confident they were playing from height. When you talk about experience, I mean, Tayson, one of the GOATs of EU, competitive now in a bit of a rough patch. It's all going to be up to the Last Chance qualifier for this team if they end up playing together, Mini.
He'll be back. Tayson will be back. I talked about it at the beginning of the day. Had a bit of a rough patch in duos. Had those random run of 15th places. They had 3 or 4 or something in a row. And bounced back from it in trios. So hopefully he can do that on a more smaller scale now and bounce back in the next few days, because that's when they're going to be playing next. So a quick turnaround for them, but I'm sure they'll do it.
The thing that's interesting about this, I think, is maybe if it was Major 1 last year, maybe they wouldn't be looking to change duos for the Last Chance qualifier. I mean, you've got so little time, but also there's another couple of majors to qualify for global championships. But 20 spots for EU are on the line for Major Summit 1. Everyone wants to go to Düsseldorf on the 30th and 31st of May. You can't get there if you don't qualify for the grand finals next weekend. Let's take a look, though, at who has qualified. Starting with our Victory Royale winners, let's just remind ourselves, Cheaton and Janice getting it done in 1 at the start of the day. We've got our Spanish duo, Takata. You were celebrating them taking it in game 2.
That I was. Scary and Syaz, they got the job done. Also, we have more very big names that made it through. I'm excited to see how Reason and Noah perform. I mean, Reason being a German legend, hopefully gonna have the shot to play in Germany later this year at the Summit, but they still have to get the job done in the major finals.
Every crowd on LAN loves him, so imagine him in front of his hometown. Actually, I don't know which city he's from. His home country crowd, I should say. Now, let's take a look then at the 10 duos who've qualified through consistency. And there you have it. Cantry and Ju, it's not a... Oh, hang on a second. I apologize. We're looking at the standings. I'm so sorry. So let's actually look at Swizzy and Pixie. It was inevitable in 6th position, and then let's cast our eyes down. Who made it across the line? And there you can see in 18th position, Vanya and Wox did not Mini Minor.
I mean, this Last Chance qualifier is looking stacked. I don't even think there's 5 big name teams. Like, there's too many big name teams to qualify through those 5-game wins. Like, there will inevitably mathematically be an upset in these Last Chance qualifiers. And even talking about like switching up teammates, usually when you do get into the Last Chance qualifiers, the pool of names of which you might want to switch with, it's not that strong. It's not that talented maybe because all the big teams have already qualified through, but there's so many big names to Casa here that are yet to qualify through. So it's going to be an absolute banger. And we're only in Heat 2 here. We still got Heat 3 tomorrow.
Yeah, it will. Look, I also want to shout out Dandy Puzo and Werix. They went up 11 places, putting themselves in qualifying range through consistency. We saw them in the first match of the day. They got 2nd place. They were just outside of getting that Victory Royale to qualify. But then after that, 30th, 28th, it was all downhill for them. It was looking like they weren't even going to make it, but they got 3rd place in this last game, jumped up on the leaderboard, and did make it in through consistency. So shout out to them.
Can we also just quickly give props as well to Rigby and Louis, the Mont Blanc boys? We did a little bit of research and a bit of Googling. It turns out they seem to be from the UK, Mini Miner.
Yeah, from the UK. Also never made a major final before, so I always like to see players that are making their first major finals. But it's nice to see the UK represented as well. So yeah, big ups to those guys. Really happy for them. They had a really solid sort of starts the game, or starts the day and end to the day, so they look really strong today.
Yeah, I don't think I'm going to have a good end to the day, guys.
Why's that actually?
Yeah,
Remind
you
the
might
viewers.
notice.
Why
Why don't you tell them? Why don't you let them know?
So I'm not making it to the top 15.
It starts with
Now,
an S. Maybe do it with an R.
What's the correct technique for this? Because I'm just gonna source this out. Actually, you know what? Oh my god. Anyway, it's really actually not a great idea to put a hot sauce directly on your finger. While I
think it's
just
a good
source
idea to
this
put it
up,
on a-
I've actually
I
got an
don't-
announcement for you guys watching at home. So I'm just going to stall the inevitable just for a moment to tell you that Fortnite has got a new map, new weapons. Elite Stronghold launches on the 20th of April, but Elite and Reload rank players can grab a duo right now. Ask your mum if none of your mates are around, and you can drop in and get early access. And it's actually open right now until 11 p.m. Central European Time, 6 p.m. Eastern Time. So go, feel like you're part of an exclusive club and help Epic test those servers and get things ready for the 20th of April. I can't wait to jump into that one, even though Mini Miner constantly refuses to play with me. So I'm just gonna...
Well, I mean, yeah, you got to get to, yeah, I mean, right,
Okay.
let's get to the
Actually, I
post-it
don't
eating.
understand why the chili sauce is that. Why have I done this to myself? What is the technique? Is it just to like do it as small as possible?
I don't
I
think
don't think
there's
anyone's
a
ever done this before. I don't think there's a
Possible.
set technique for
I
how
can
you do
actually
this.
just. This is like. Okay, if I do it really small, I can just swallow it in one, right? By the way, if you can just get in touch with Resub, because Levin might have to host the show tomorrow. So,
I'm gonna have to do the outro at this point.
Oh my gosh.
I've actually, oh my
She
god,
did
it's
it. Oh
stuck
my
in my throat. I have done it though. Oh my god, yeah, so, yeah, Resub, if you're watching this, mate.
We might need a new
See you
host.
on the broadcast tomorrow. Oh my god, it's
Yeah.
actually stuck in
How
my
did
throat.
it taste, actually? Was it
Yeah.
good? Rye paper,
correct with this.
slightly
Yeah.
bitter synthetic taste from the adhesive? What was the verdict? Oh no, there's
Well, there's horn sound.
Oh my god. I'll be right back. Jesus Christ.
can't lose if I'm the go. Leave me in the zone, I take your mind and then I snatch your soul. Turn up the track, going deep, I'm in the zone. You know I'm about to go, harder than harder go. When the lights shine bright, that's my show. Run up and see the glow, I'm gonna make it known. I get it, they love my whole aesthetic. Big ops don't listen, told you this ain't hypothetical. Answer the call, prove this once and for all. Can't reach me with an arrow, summer nights I never fall. No cattle, the goat don't wear a saddle. Go riders up my body, cut them off, they yak and sloppy. Already, I consume the petty. The vision's 2020, can't lose and find the go. Leave me in the zone, I take your mind and then I snatch